Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach Ned Kinross, and I'm joined today by Simeon Rosset of Rosset Bespoke Butlers. Welcome, Simeon.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, you butlers is one of these things that we don't hear about a lot in sort of I suppose the general population, but you're a pretty important part of um, the more elite, I suppose, end of hospitality.
Yes. Well, butlers, it's very niche. It really is. Um, Most people, when I meet them, the first thing they say is, "You're the first butler I've met." That's what I usually get. But like you say, we fill an important role and an important niche within that offering.
So you've been a butler in some pretty prestigious places in your time, and now you run your own butler business. So tell us about that transition and how you moved from um, being a butler. And I guess there's possibly something about us just explaining to people what is a butler, because there's probably a few misconceptions out there.
Yeah, well, the I'll start with that one actually, because what is a butler? It's almost easier to say what isn't a butler, because what a butler isn't is sort of like a sort of maybe a more sort of grand waiter or something like that, which is what sometimes people sort of assume we are. My background, as you mentioned, I've worked in a lot of incredible places. I started my career at Leeds Castle in Kent, which is a huge castle and estate. Um, from there, I went on to work for some of the wealthiest individuals in the world, billionaires, owners of oil companies, Middle Eastern royalty, people like that. Um, in my sort of career of doing that, I was lucky enough to sort of experience every aspect of butlering and really learn the craft. Then, when it came to me starting my own business, what I really wanted to do was implement what I'd learned and bring that to my own company and offering this to a wider range of people. Um, so it's what's a butler? A butler is someone that makes someone's life better. It's as simple as that. When you're being looked after by one of my butlers, it's not a case of getting whatever you ask for, it's a case of getting what you wanted before you asked for it.
Yeah, so it's it's the person who's the facilitator who effectively is doing the thinking and preempting what your employer is looking uh, to have to make their lives easier.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, so yeah, so so you've been running um, your own business now for about 9.5 years, I think.
Yeah, that's very accurate. Yes, that's exactly.
So so what prompted you to move from running other people's lives to running your own business?
Right. Well, that is actually a really good question. Um, as a butler, a personal butler, which is what I was, you have to basically devote your life to the principal. We call them the principal, the boss, the master, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
Um, in doing so, it is a wonderful career, and I really enjoyed it. But because you have to give 100%, when you get married and you want to have children and things like that, then you kind of, for me, I felt like I could maybe only give sort of 80% or something like that. So what I wanted to do is I still wanted to be a butler because I still had a great passion for it, but I wanted to do it in a way that I could still have a family life at the same time. So that's what the business sort of came from.
And your business does a number of things. So if if I've got this right, you've got two principal arms. you source and supply butlers and other members of the household,
Correct?
and you also provide training.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So ha- there seems to be quite a nice synergy there. But how do you get that to work between the two areas?
Well, interestingly, it is a synergy because one came from the other. Basically, I started the company purely with the idea of providing butlers to people, and very quickly realized that one of the big issues were there just wasn't enough butlers to supply to people. And that was something that I couldn't fix just by advertising for people to work for me. And a better solution was to train my own people, because then they were also trained to the standards that I wanted them. So it started as purely as in-house training. It started as me employing people, training them up, and using them as team members. But quite quickly, people started contacting me saying, "Well, could you train me to be a butler? I don't want to work for you. I want to, I want to go and work wherever, somewhere else. But could you train me up anyway?" Um, and I thought, well, yeah, what a wonderful idea. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So the butler school happened so organically. I could almost not, I can't put a pin in it and tell you when it started, because, the first course I did with people paying to be on the course was like a mixture of some of my team, some that were paying, and it just grew from that. And now I've got to the stage where last year I actually flew out to Saudi Arabia to train the butlers in the royal courts. I've flown to Barbados to train the butlers in resorts and things like that. So it's just grown exponentially from a fairly small, humble beginning.
It's fantastic. It's a great story, and it's a great reminder, particularly, I suppose, in the climate at the moment in the recruitment world. There's probably barely a week goes by when I don't hear somebody saying, "Oh, I can't find this set of skills, that sort of person." But if you're not finding it, the other solution is grow your own.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so when you're recruiting people to train, who makes a great butler?
Do you know what it's all about? It's all about attitude. All the technical skills I can train. As long as someone's intelligent and willing to work, all of the technical skills can easily get trained. The thing that you can't train someone is wanting to serve, wanting to do the job, having that passion. That is something that you've either got or you haven't got. And I know because I've tried to train that. I've had people that have started and they start the course, and quite early on, I'm thinking, it's weird because they don't really seem to be enjoying it. They don't seem to be wanting to look after people. And as it goes on, I realize they're just not suited. So now I actually do my best to try and not even open the course to them. I try and interview people and I make sure they really genuinely want it and have a passion before we even start training, because I don't want to waste their time, my time, anything like that. I'd rather just have the best people doing the best job.
So how do you go about selecting that? You've talked about interview. Um, it's that big challenge for anyone who's recruiting is how do you find the values match? We go for skills, we go for CVs and all these sorts of things, but the values match is it's the harder thing to identify. So how do you do
It
that?
it really is. So for me, I like to make my, I said interview and it is an interview, but I like to make it as informal a chat as possible, because I don't want people in interview mode. I want people in talking to me mode. So I kind of throw out some scenarios. I throw out some, what do you think of this situation? What do you think of that situation? And without them even realizing, they kind of paint a picture for me of how they deal with different situations, and what would make them feel uncomfortable and what they would enjoy. And from that, I can see who is, with a fairly good accuracy, I can see who's going to make a good butler. And of course, I'm doing this for their own benefit, because there's no good outcome for them if they do all the training and then actually don't have the aptitude, so can't be a good butler, because that would just be a total waste of their time. So, I want the best people, and I find by talking, by letting them let their guard down and just being friendly with them, you can find out a lot.
Absolutely. It's yeah, it's definitely helpful to get to sort of the inner person. Um, so I guess with the line of work you're in, you've built a career on being on organizing things to perfection, having everything there before people expect it, before they
Yes.
even know they want it. So when you take that into business, that gives you a pretty high bar to run your business to. So
Yes.
how do you operate the business so that you're living by those values? Because I guess that's part of the training too.
It is. And I'll be honest with you, that has been both my USP and an advantage, but also a millstone around my neck. Because even though the kind of clients I'm looking after, yes, that's what they're looking for. But of course, within the parameters of making a profit, which we have to do as a business, otherwise we don't have a business. That can actually be a huge challenge, because that ethos that I've always had of doing whatever they want, no matter the cost, no matter the difficulty, is sometimes not particularly feasible within a business. So I have to get that balance right. I have to say to people, look, I will do this. We can create this, but please appreciate how much it's going to cost. Please appreciate the difficulty that is involved. Whereas as a personal butler, and this was a mistake I made a lot at the beginning of my business, and I still make it sometimes, I'll be honest with you. As a personal butler, you downplay how hard everything is. Not a problem, sir. No problem, madam. I'll get it done. It's so easy for me to do it for you. But actually, in business, sometimes you have to let people know that it is actually quite difficult.
Absolutely, yeah, and I guess it's all in the positioning. It's all in being honest with people up front.
Yes, and with yourself. And with yourself, you've got to be honest about how hard it's going to be, what the manpower and resources that are going to be required to actually do this. Because, when you're, I said again, when you're a private butler, you have almost unlimited resources, because, it's the checkbook of a billionaire. But I don't have the checkbook of a billionaire.
Well, not yet, anyway.
No, give me a while.
So, so you've built the business up. You're being sought after for going all over the globe, training people. What's been the biggest misconception that people have about business that you've tackled and solved in that time?
Do you know what? I think my, and this is going to sound really silly, but my biggest problem was I listened to too many people's opinion when I started. Now, we've all seen episodes of The Apprentice, and they're all like, "Oh, look, you have to get everyone else's opinion. You have to do the thing. You have to listen." And of course, you do, but you need to be true to yourself. If you know you can achieve something and you know you've got the skill set to do it, don't listen to all the people that tell you to lower your values. Don't listen to the people that tell you that you're aiming too high. Because when I first started my business, based on market research, I started way too low, and I tried to pitch myself below my own abilities. And actually, that was a big mistake. I should be pitching upwards from your abilities, not below them. So that was a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's you set your sights on the stars, then at least you're going to hit the moon on the way.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Whereas, when I started, I was aiming at, people encouraged me to go for like the low hanging fruit. But at the end of the day, there's there's a reason it's hanging low.
Yeah, yeah. Having that unique selling point in the business and carving yourself a nice tight niche. It at the end of the day, it's the one thing that separates you from everyone else.
Exactly.
So so you're 9.5 years in. You've got a great reputation. You've got a team of your own. You've got people coming to you to be trained and head off on their own journeys. What does the future hold?
Well, the future, I want to build the brand into other areas because um, I'm really pleased with how we've done with the providing the butlers, the butler training, which of course will always be the cornerstones of what I do. But now I'm looking at other elements that we can bring that butler class, that butler skills into other walks of life. Things like destination management, lifestyle management. It's all very much within the remit of a butler, but it's something that as yet I haven't monetized. And that's what I want to do. I want to build into those sort of, you could call them concierge duties. I don't necessarily like using that term because it's broader than that, but just to make it easily to understand. I'd also like to look at other elements within what we do. For example, this Christmas we're doing something totally new for us, which is doing sort of corporate afternoon teas and things like that, which are a different sort of clientele than we normally work with. But it's all about building that brand to different layers and trying to get it to new different people.
Fantastic. That sounds really exciting. So
Hopefully.
so final question, and I suppose if we circle back to where we started, your role when you're out as a butler is to anticipate the needs of your principal and sort of be one step ahead of them. So what's the secret? Because I'm sure this will be one of those things all of us would quite like to be able to anticipate the needs of those special people in our lives and everyone else around us. So how do you anticipate the needs of someone whose background and interests might be really quite different from your own?
Mm. Well, how long is this podcast? Have we got 3 or 4 hours to go through this? No, I can. Well, to put it very simply, it's about studying people, all people. What I do is when I'm sat in a coffee shop, I'm looking at people's body languages. I'm listening to the tonation of their voice. And I train people to do this. This is a big part of what you need to do. And it applies to all business. If you can read someone by not listening to the words they're saying, but listening to the tone of their voice, looking at their body language. Do they want to talk to you? Are they bored with talking to you? Are they thinking about something else? Are they thirsty? Are they hungry? Are they hot? Are they cold? Very simple things. But what amazes me is the amount of people that can't read what to me are big headlines over their heads telling me this. But there's so many people that seem a bit sort of colorblind to understanding people. Uh, and it's a learnt thing. I had to learn it as a butler because when you get it wrong, you get in big trouble. So if you don't get it right, you don't get on. They're your only two choices: get it right or go. So this is the most important skill that I think anyone can have, and anyone can pick it up. All you need to do is look at people and really think, what's that person thinking?
That's fantastic. So, so, so secrets to success: read the body language, anticipate what people are thinking, um, and go for the values and the people above the skills, and above all
Exactly.
else, trust in your convictions. Uh,
Yeah. And don't settle for less. Always, you know what you can do. Um, don't listen to the little voice that's saying you can't do it.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that we all overestimate what we can achieve in 3 months, and we underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. And, if,
Yeah.
and
Very
you're
true.
approaching the 10th anniversary of your business, and yeah, that's fantastic. Look, it's been a brilliant conversation. Thank you very much for that,
My
and very
pleasure.
best of luck for the next 10 years.
Thank you so much. Yes.